We see the bigger picture. Business Express on Smooth
Alrighty.
98.1.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, Aya.
Good morning, Valentine.
Aya
How are
is going
you?
to ask or act as my guest this morning. I'm
What,
fine,
what do
thank
you
you.
mean act? I am going to be your guest. I'm not acting. It's real life.
You're
Thank
my
you very
guest this
much.
morning. That's
Thank you.
nice. It's a good holiday feeling.
It's a good holiday.
While Rutus is off and be back to next Monday. I can't wait
Yeah.
to see the look on his face when he gets back.
And I can't wait to have the messages pour in to welcome him back because
Mm-hmm.
a number of people have missed him
Mm-hmm.
and have been looking forward to having him back.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's not
very
until next
excited.
week anyway.
Yeah, until next week, Monday.
Today, among other stories, we'll be talking about the meter rollouts in Ikeja. We'll talk about the NIMASA unveiling 5 point plan to reform the maritime operations, how that's going to work, then reeling out the plans, and we'll look at the banks, possibly if time allows it, banks that are planning to engage in the Empower. Engage the Empower beneficiaries, maybe to
Mhm.
start a business, and to start with minimum wage. Now, first, let's look at the headline from Business Day. But before that, a quick reminder here. The number to send messages to through WhatsApp is 0809 444 0981. That is the WhatsApp number 0809 444 0981. This is Business Express 981. The hashtag on Twitter is hashtag Business Express 981.
Mhm.
We're streaming live on YouTube too. So, Ayo,
Yes.
as the minimum wage stalemate has held down the implementation of this, there are a lot of factors that are affecting this. First, we should understand that the trade union side that represents the labor unions
Mhm.
in the negotiation that's organized by the joint body committee that set up the Joint National Public Service Negotiating Council, long name, very long name to be honest, but they're the ones that have been consistently going back and forth with the conversation around settling for minimum wage.
Yeah.
There were a few points to consider. First, we know that this was signed into law by President Muhammad Buhari on 18th of April this year,
Yes.
and there's still the clamor to resolve that. The TUS, that's the trade union side for Labour Congress, recommended or proposed a 66.66% increase of salaries for officers on grade levels 1 to 17. And they said it should be adjusted normally, just to be relative to the salaries that exist in the salary structure of the public service. There's also another demand by the TUS
Yeah.
to for 30% implementation of officers on grade levels 7 to 14 and 25% for those on grade levels 15 to 17.
17. Yeah.
State governors have consistently said they don't have money, they can't afford this minimum wage. But do you see an agreement reached next week as being alleged by this report?
Hmm. It's difficult to say, to be fair, because I mean we've heard the trade union come out to threaten an industrial strike action if they do not sort this out. Indeed, the report yesterday said tomorrow, so perhaps this is a new development whereby they are willing to wait another week
Mm,
to negotiate. However, there's some points to obviously consider. We've talked about the availability of funds by the federal government. So revenue for the federal government is stretched as things stand. We know that the price per barrel of oil is $58.
hmm
As at yesterday when we had the conversation, as against the $60 that
Benchmark.
was benchmarked for the budget.
hmm
Even at that, it wasn't
Yes.
sufficient to meet the needs or the provisions of this of the new minimum wage. Then also some people have considered labor's demands to be unreasonable. This isn't news.
Mm,
Many times in the past, when they've come to the negotiation table, people have often said that the the demands or the request of labor is not realistic. It's not reasonable.
mm,
However, they meet in the middle. So perhaps they do. It's just like when you go to the market to price yam, and you say give me 5,000, and then
mm,
you price. I'm not saying that labor wages is like
mm,
yam or
mm,
it's like buying food stock, but I'm just saying that some people have said they're not being reasonable
mm.
in what they're demanding for. And then another thing is that salaries of National Assembly, also, if people say that okay, if you're saying our demands are unreasonable, then we must look at the fact that perhaps our demands wouldn't be as unreasonable as National Assembly members willing to take a cut to their pay, but this doesn't seem to be
The National
anywhere.
Assembly workers themselves or the office holders would still argue that their position or their office is terminal. is not as long lasting
long
as the
lasting.
civil service.
But whether
Still, it's
it's terminal
service.
or not,
It's public
as
service.
yes, the office is what earns the salary in
Mm.
quotes. So even if the people who are currently there move on after 4 8 years, depending on if they will be elected or not, the next set of people who come in are earning the same. So just imagine them as a body. It's a space. It's an office that earns money. That money goes to. So irrespective of who is there, whether it's terminal, whether it's for life, the fact that money is going to fund that position is what's the challenges here. And so again and again, we've asked our representatives at the National Assembly and the House and the House of Representatives if National Assembly, that Senate and House of Representatives, if they are willing to take a pay cut for the good of country, but it doesn't seem like they're willing
For the
to do
good
that.
of the country that doesn't have money, because it's the bottom line. Nigeria has no money to fund this. Although Richard Egbule, who's the chairman of the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission, blamed the delay on the commencement of the implementation of the new wage on Labour, saying that they are being unreasonable for this. Timothy sent us a message on WhatsApp. He said, "Let everyone, including the politically elected, like in other climes, take the minimum wage."
Exactly. Can our lawmakers be paid according to the pay grade of the civil service?
Can they survive on that pay grade?
How do the civil servants survive? That's even a question that they shouldn't even be asking, because then it means that you're being unfair. It's honestly, there's some things that happen in Nigeria that can't happen anywhere else in the world. You can't come out to say that, oh, how are we going to survive on that wage, and then be paying other people at your pay grade the same wage. How are they supposed to survive?
Because you can't relate. There's a big gap between the
There's
livelihood
such a
or the
big
lifestyles of the politicians and those of the civil service, which is what a lot of people are hinging their arguments on. We actually touched on this Ikeja Electric rolling out meters yesterday, so we're not going to flog that. It's just as a reminder, in case you didn't hear that story. The power firm, that's Ikeja Electric PLC, has said that the metering was restricted to only members or customers in Ikorodu, Abulegba, Shomolu business units in the first phase that ended in July. Second phase that has since begun will be extended to customers in Ikeja, Akowonjo, and Oshodi business units. The MAP scheme, which is called Meter Asset Provider Scheme, introduced by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission last year, is to bridge the metering gap in the power sector to end estimated billing. And I say yes to that. And shout out to Ikeja Electric, and I hope others would take a cue. EKEDC, for instance, is on their website. You can apply for your meters to be provided. You'll start the request online, and then that will be carried on offline. Anyway, let's move on now to NIMASA Maritime. Now, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, has unveiled a strategic plan. They say it's to reform the industry, even as it mulls signing a memorandum of understanding with the Nigerian Navy and Air Force to combat the menace of sea pirates. It's something we can't ignore. There's still piracy on the seas. The Director General, Dakuku Peter Side, who has been front and center in the news in recent past, says that this move was important to restore safety to the Nigerian Airways. He made a statement here that I'd like to allude to, but I would like to hear your thoughts on this. Maritime is very important. We should tap into this.
I mean, very critical, but again, as many agencies we see them come out with grand plans for the agency without meaning to sound pessimistic, or I just want to say that the challenge here is that a number of people are not confident in these in these 5 point agendas and MOUs, because we've seen this time and time again. They've come out with plans, they've come out with grand agendas, and nothing seems to have been implemented. So as with many ministries, departments, agencies in Nigeria, we find out that they come out with these lofty plans. So maybe we should be looking along the lines of checking to see just how well these plans are implemented. So beyond coming out with a plan or a 5 point agenda, as in this case, why don't you break it down and tell us how you hope to achieve how you hope to achieve it, the length of time you'll do it, so that people are able to hold you more accountable.
I said the 5 pillars it is built on is survey, inspection, certification transformation program, environment security and search and rescue transformation program,
Mm.
as well as capacity building, promotional initiatives that entail growing indigenous tonnage, shipbuilding, and human capacity.
Mhm.
Uh, Big English, but pretty much focuses on particular areas that are of concern, major concern: security,
Mm.
making sure the operations are more effective, and also digital incorporation, or rather digital inclusion, to ensure that systems are upgraded
Mm.
to meet the world's best practices, and then shipping, haulage, everything,
Well, yeah,
you know,
and they've given us a
be
three
better.
year. They've given us a time frame,
Time
actually, a
frame,
3 year
yes.
plan.
Mm.
So in 3 years' time, this is 2019, 2022. They're meant to have made made significant strides in this, following this 5 point agenda. So let's watch and see, and let's
Yeah,
hopefully give them the benefit of doubts that this time around it's going
it will
to
work.
be, yes,
It's a
action.
medium to long term plan, and I hope with this same kind of energy, or gusto that he's using and applying to this Nemasa, really everybody will follow that team and
Mhm.
move on with it. And let's move on to this next story. Now, this one is from the Punch. It said 5 states banks to engage Empower beneficiaries. 5 states to deposit money banks, the Nigerian police, and other private companies in Nigeria. They have expressed their readiness altogether to engage beneficiaries of the federal government's Empower program. Recall that President Muhammad Buhari inaugurated the Empower program in 2016. It is a graduate and non-graduate job enhancement scheme that's been facilitated by the federal government to support with support from state and local governments, as well as the private sector,
Mm.
essentially to give people the chance to equip themselves with the right skills and have jobs and even create businesses.
Mm.
It's added that state and private firms are being consulted to permanently engage Empower beneficiaries. How do you see this playing out?
I think wonderful. If this, I mean, of course, when you hear things like this, it's exciting. It's
Mm.
great to see the federal government's move in ensuring that they tackle unemployment in Nigeria, which is one of the things that Empire is meant to tackle. However, obvious obvious question right there. We just discussed the minimum wage implementation, and we
Yep.
said that they're not able to afford 30,000 naira currently. So how will these states who are not able to afford salaries, who are owing in some states months of salaries, how can they absorb Empower graduates?
You think they are going to be stretched?
No, they're already stretched. So except some states like Lagos State and a few other states who have been able to meet up with paying
Mm.
the salaries of the workers or state workers, it's difficult to see how this will play out, particularly because some states are currently struggling with paying workers salaries.
Mm.
And then 3 years after the program was inaugurated, there is no data on how many jobs the first batch of graduates will get.
Mm.
So again, it's talking about long-term plan and actually having a plan that is detailed. So yes, you had a fantastic idea, train them, etc, but what's the sustainability plan? So again,
Yes.
it's about it being sustainable.
Mm.
What's the point of training, empowering these young people, and then they're left out in the cold without anything, nothing to follow up with? So again, it's a bit of a concern that this wasn't put into consideration when
Mhm.
this plan was drawn up, when the Empire was drawn up. And then two
Although,
banks.
2 banks, two deposit money banks.
How many banks do we have in Nigeria?
We have a lot. No, not quite sure of the right number at this point. But
Mm.
the National Social Investment Office, through its communication manager, has kind of given a positive response to the
Mm.
sentiments you expressed, Ayo. He
Okay.
said that they've gotten the interest of states and the banks
Mm.
to be involved in recruiting the Empire candidates. I see you smiling.
Because I'm looking at these states and I don't know about these states and how much revenue these states have been able to generate internally.
Kaduna,
So yes, I have
Kebbi, Imo,
Kaduna, Kebbi.
Kwara,
Lagos is not
Bayelsa.
even there, and I'm really quite surprised. Maybe
Uh,
okay, well we ourselves were stretched.
but looking at the banks now, FCMB is Zenith Bank.
Zenith Bank.
Yeah,
Is that well?
they could handle it.
They are they've indicated interest in supporting them as mobile money agents.
Yeah.
You know what? Mobile money. Anyway, let me not go into that. But it's I mean
Let us know your
let's
thoughts.
look at the positive side. I
Yes.
hope this works out, but just again we must also face the fact and talk about the real issues and not just paint, put up very nice headlines and think, oh yes,
They are
Empire is
lofty
doing this.
ideas.
Yeah.
Implementation is key, and
It's key.
these are the things we're cautiously optimistic about. But share your thoughts with us on social media. Let's continue the conversation. I know it's a holiday, but business always moves. Money
There's
never
no holiday
sleeps
for money.
at all. Send us messages with the hashtag Business Express 981 to smooth at smooth 981 FM. Thank you to everyone who followed us live on YouTube. I will play some music and we'll be back at 7:30 to give a detailed analysis of our newspaper stories this morning. Hopefully, Justin and Ikemesit join us then.
Business Express on